By the way, an official FEMA videographer who saw the towers 1 and 2 and 7, the rubble, how it had been destroyed with cutting charges. He is in exile in Argentina, and he's about to release that footage, that video that they're hounding him for. Also, it's now come out that all 4 of the flights, 2 separate airlines, for months, starting on the same date, and that's coming up later, they'd all been in mothballs. And then they all launched that day specially. During, of course, the drills with the CIA practicing flying hijacked jets into the World Trade Center and Pentagon at the exact same time as the real attacks. So NORAD would stand down thinking it was part of a drill. What boldness out of these people. And so it's clear. I want to ask Bob Chapman about this. They're on record wanting the new banking dictatorship. I'm going to play a 2-minute clip of Napolitano. I played part of this yesterday. I want to play it all now because it's not just Alex Jones. It's Judge Napolitano on his internet Fox show. They won't let him talk about this on Fox News. At least I've never seen him do it. I think Napolitano is a good guy. Those people that know him behind the scenes, I've talked to him a bit behind the scenes, and I think he's a good guy. People like Beck, on the other hand, who he lets him fill in for, is an actor and gets off on, fake crying and manipulating people. And we're going to show some of that coming up. But going back to Bob Chapman. Bob, for those that just joined us, some stations just joined us, break down the international forecaster. We have it in our story at Infowars.com. Bankster holiday planned for September. What this means, why the embassies are being told to dump their dollars, buy a bunch of other currencies, what the sources that you've got are saying, and what the sources that Harry Schultz, with his renowned newsletter that MSNBC has given the award of a newsletter of the year. So, this is coming out from some pretty credible sources.
Well, very simply, my sources are people who are working in embassies, and so I'm getting mine firsthand. And I do know some people in the State Department. They're almost as old as I am, and I haven't been able to contact them on this issue. But what I do know is that they, when I last talked to them, didn't know any more about this than I did, nor actually had they heard of it. And but anyway, Harry Schultz picked it up, and what he did in putting a piece in his letter, which I reprinted in mine this past issue, was reiterate some of the things that I had said, and he said it was his suspicion that the elite plan was for another FDR-type bank holiday of indefinite length, and perhaps very soon. And why would they do that? Well, it's interesting that today's Tuesday, early Monday, the IMF said that if the United States does not increase its exports, then a dollar devaluation has to be looked at. If you noticed yesterday, the World Bank said that they saw a minus 2.9% GDP for the year worldwide, and that was quite a bit away from the plus that they had projected earlier. The IMF is talking about frugality and people pulling their horns in, so to speak, and getting their economies back into shape again. And, of course, the U.S. Federal Reserve and the Treasury have all the other countries going in the opposite direction. They have zero interest rates or close to it, which was dictated by the Bank of England and the Federal Reserve, and at least the top 20 in many other countries have followed. And they have also increased money and credit. It varies widely. Britain, money and credit increase this last month was 17.4%. In the European Central Bank, which is the Eurozone, they increased theirs by only 6.8%. They had been up over 12% previously. What they were doing was holding interest rates high and forcing money into the system along with credit. And the U.S. told them to lower the interest rates. It was more important. And so that's what they did. and now they've cut back on their issuance of money and credit. They really don't want to go along with this program. And I can't help but think that 60% of the securitized toxic waste, those bonds with mortgages in them, was sold in Europe. And to this day, there has never been a legal action or a criminal action against the banks and the rating services who did this. And so that tells me they had to have been in on it. And I think they're kind of getting cold feet right now. And
that's why they've got to go ahead and get total dictatorial powers over us and say that if you investigate the Fed or criticize the Fed, you're a terrorist, because they are the terrorists. They are the financial terrorists. They are the criminals, and they've got to go for broke here, Bob.
That's why I spent the last 3 months on Fox, ABC, NBC, CBS, and I'm amazed they allowed me to. They did say one thing about me not talking about the Fed, and I kept on talking about it, and they didn't say anything anymore.
Well, let me tell you what's happening, Bob, and I'm sure this has happened to you behind the scenes. I go on a lot of local Fox and some of the local CNNs around the country, like News 8 here in Austin, and I've even talked to some of the producers at national CNN. They go, no, we know this stuff's real. My guys were at the National Press Club for 4 or 5 hours with Wayne Madsen, and they said all the old reporters, famous reporters, were going, yeah, Alex Jones is right. It's a New World Order takeover. The banks are bankrupting us by design, but shh. You know, they got spies in here, don't talk about it. And so, I mean, it's just everybody knows who's got half a brain, Bob.
Yeah, well, when I go onto these different programs with these commentators in Chicago and New Orleans and so on and so forth, these are very large-reaching stations. And, before I go on the air, they giggle and say, well, I'm glad you're here to do this because we don't dare. Because they'll fire them. And so, I'm used as an abutment, just like you are. But anyway... Yeah,
we're surrogates. We're surrogates for them. They bring us on so they can slip it out and even kind of laugh at us, but then behind the scenes they go, no, thanks for your courage. Bob, I want to get into some other areas here. Of course, I know you've been reporting on the water bill, but here I have the actual Senate breakdown. This is from the U.S. Senate Committee on Environment and Public Works. Background information on S787, Feingold Clean Water Restoration Act. Now, this is what the Senate says, because I keep reporting this for the last couple of weeks. People don't believe me. This is their boil down of the bill. Okay? In fact, we've got the new document cam above me. Zoom in on this, and I'm going to read this to folks. Okay, they're amending the Clean Water Act to strike the term navigable waters, whatever it appears, replacing it instead with waters of the United States, which describes it as water puddles, wells, aquifers, and saying that they control the land that any water is on. So total federalization, not just of the water. Erase the distinction between federal and state jurisdiction over waters. I mean, this is total federal government takeover. Impose federal regulation over anything that impounds water, including private lakes, ditches, and dry stream beds that occasionally get wet. And they're now saying they're going to ban ranching. I'm not kidding. The Texas Cattlemen's Association is on record. They already tried this with the wetlands, saying runoff from cattle, from them making, ruts in the ground. That's going to be illegal, and they're going to come fine and fee you without warrants, come on your property. Impose federal regulation over anything that impounds water, including private lakes, ditches, and dry stream beds, and occasionally get wet. Expand regulation from the current focus on discharges to the border activities affecting waters, including the possible regulation of air pollutants. Allow federal controls on limits of the legislative power of Congress under the Constitution. So this is Congress voting to give its authority away to private bureaucrats. And it goes on. This is bigger than Lincoln's power grab. This is bigger. So we got this with the banker reform bill that makes them over. I mean, this is a total takeover, Bob.
It certainly is. And, one of the things you just slightly referred to in that is the CO2 that's given off by the human waste, animal waste.
No, that too. They want to tax human. You're right. Go ahead.
Yeah, and that's allied cap and trade. And so that's part of that. They've been trying to do that for about 50 years that I can remember.
Yeah, they tried the Wetlands Act harassing everybody, but that got overturned in court. So, yeah, now they're just saying the Attorney General can ban all guns at once if he wants to. Bill introduced, racing through the House. The feds control all water and all property it's on. Congress has no authority. The Federal Reserve rules everything, anything associated with money or the economy, from hot dog stands to movie chains. We rule. I mean, this is it, Bob, is it not?
It certainly is, and the one kink in their armor here is what they said 3 weeks ago: this economic situation is gotten out of control. We have to bring it to a halt, and I don't think they're capable of doing it. And that means more unemployment, never mind all of their stimulus program or even the next stimulus program to come. Unemployment is still going to grow. People are going to lose homes. 3 million people have already lost their homes. And we're going to be looking over the next 3 years at unemployment somewhere in the vicinity of 35 or plus %, maybe as much as 50.